Hey guys, how you going? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all. This movie is a thriller from France, French language English subs, released in the year 2021, directed by Philippe Leguay, and this film is called The Man in the Basement. So The Man in the Basement is about this Parisian couple that live in an apartment complex. They have a young daughter, and they're trying to find a buyer for the cellar that they don't use. And so a buyer comes along in the form of an elderly gentleman who appears harmless enough, and when they exchange contracts, this is where the cracks start to appear within the trust. This man is actually using the cellar as a home, which goes against everything that they were actually dealing with. And so when they tried to talk to him about it, this is where they realise there's more to this man than they first thought, as he starts to manipulate the situation, and they realise that the law is behind this man because they've exchanged contracts, so they're going to have to find another way to kick this man out before it's too late. So whether or not they can is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Man in the Basement. I heard nothing about this film, which is the reason why I was shocked as to how good this movie actually was. This is a very solid little thriller that does have very relevant themes in today's society, but it doesn't use those themes in a way that's dictating to you. It uses those themes to further produce the levels of suspense that this movie has. So it's simplicity done very, very well. It's simplistic enough to follow easily, but it's complex enough to really give you that impression that it exists more for the sake of just being a simple thriller. So it doesn't have explosions, it doesn't have car chases, it's just a simple manipulation game. And this is something that I got from Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear with Max Cady. Max Cady's character is very similar to Francois Cluzet's character in this movie, where he's manipulating innocence. And when that manipulation starts to come in, this is where families fall apart, which is what Nick Nolte's family in Cape Fear did. They were falling apart because of the manipulation of the wolf amongst the sheep. And so this movie, The Man in the Basement, has that same sense of, Jeremy Renier's, the father of this family. He's trying his best to protect his family, but when he gets himself into a situation that passes the point of no return, I never felt as though I had control of the situation. I never felt as though I knew where this movie was going. And so it does have a very simplistic idea, but there's enough complexity to actually give you a movie that does have layers. This is a movie about anti-Semitism, it's a movie about racism, but it's not being a social justice warrior. It's not trying to make you feel bad for how society is. It's just playing a backseat to further evolve the situation. And so that situation is starting to snowball, and I just thought as though it was done very, very effectively. It's not a violent movie, it's not a film that has any cheap tricks, it's just a movie that slowly builds that tension, the wick to the stick of dynamite, and when that wick gets to that dynamite, there's an explosion at the end that I thought was very, very rewarding. So it's an indication that you don't need violence, that violence and car chases are a lazy aspect of suspenseful films, but if you build very solid characters in a very solid situation, this is all you need. And so Philippe Leguay demonstrates a high level of ability to create that sense of on the edge of your seat entertainment without going over the top with any cheap tricks. And so Francois Cluzet's performance as this elderly gentleman, he was the standout. He was the reason why this movie works as well as it did. Jeremy Renier, who is the father, I thought played very well off Francois Cluzet, and it's basically a battleground of psychology. And that psychology gets darker and darker as this man starts to manipulate the situation. When you get the revelation as to what this man is all about, I thought it further developed that sense of paranoia and disturbing quality, which is something that I really liked. I liked the setting of the cellar. This cellar was a world of its own. It was a very evil sort of world, and it was a world that's basically portrayed society's attitudes. Not everyone, but there is a certain section of society that views people in a certain way that I thought was very relevant in this film. And I'm not going to give anything away, I have to be very careful, but I thought that was really, really well done. And so the supporting cast all do a fantastic job. It's a minimalistic sort of film, but it's minimalism done in a way that just intensifies that sense that it's very easy to follow, and at the same time I felt as though I was getting something more than just a cardboard cutout experience. So if it sounds like your kind of thing and you like Alfred Hitchcock sort of films, and even Cape Fear, now Cape Fear, Robert De Niro's performance is better than Francois Cluzet's, but there's a lot of comparisons within this because it's a man who there's a lot more than you would first think, and he starts to manipulate the situation in a way that he is controlling things. And when you realise in this film that the law is behind Francois Cluzet's character, there's a certain sense of reinforcement. Things are not going to be that easy. And so you're constantly saying in other films, why can't they just do this? Why can't they just do that? But it ties up all avenues of escape within this family. And so you're asking yourself why they can't do this. It would resolve the situation straight away, but then that the director has covered those avenues, and so you don't really have a safety barrier as to what line of defence you're actually going to take. And so that's what made the movie really good. This is an uncovered gem. It was a lot better than I was expecting, and a lot more people need to talk about it. So if it sounds like your kind of thing and you want a demonstration of fantastic acting and fantastic script that is using a theme in society as a driving point, then this is a film that I would highly recommend. So overall, for The Man in the Basement, going to give this one 4 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.